Sometimes to heal from chronic illness, you have to actually change who you are as a person, change what you do, change how you think, change what you believe. These are all critical if you want to be able to overcome chronic illness. So if you're struggling with a chronic illness, you got to realize sometimes you just got to change. You got to change. You got to change what we're eating. We got to change how we're thinking, what we believe about ourselves. We got to change, our way of doing things. We got to change our pace. Stop operating so fast. We got to stop thinking ahead. We got to be more present. We got to be more faithful in our higher power. We got to create a strong relationship with them. So the reality is sometimes you got to change your personality. For me personally, I was an on-the-go person. I was always on the go. I was always hyperactive, always into the next adrenaline rush. And that was who I was as a person. But I realized that that was what led me to get sick in the first place. I was always seeking instant gratification in my life, and I wasn't looking for delayed gratification, the long-term approach. It was always, what can I benefit from right now? What will make me feel good right now? This became who I was, became my way of living, and for me to be able to get over the chronic illness, I had to be able to actually change the way I was operating in my life. I had to operate at 80%. I had to not overdo things. I had to avoid the adrenaline rushes and focus more on things that relaxed me, that restored me, that provide fulfillment. So I had to actually change who I was to overcome chronic illness. Before I'd be out jogging for a couple miles or lifting weights forever. Now I sit there and meditate and do deep breathing. Before I would have blamed everything on outside circumstances, on someone else, on something, but now I realize it's all me and it's all based on my reaction to things. I had to go through a complete metamorphosis and transformation internally to be able to have the external environment support my healing. And the reality is, if you're trying to overcome something but you just keep running into brick walls, you can't seem to eat the right foods, you can't seem to do the meditations, you can't seem to engage in joyful activities, you're always thinking about things in the future, and you're always worried about what's going to happen. You're thinking about, well, once I get better, I'm going to go ahead and enjoy these things in my life. Once I get better, I'm going to live again. This is a trap. You're caught in a trap, and you have to go ahead and create a new vision of yourself. Okay, who do I actually want to be? What's the perfect version of my future that I would love to see? Where would I be in my future if I could paint a picture? What would I want it to look like? Okay, you have to create some vision in the future. You have to create some vision to be able to aspire to, and then you start making changes internally. We're changing what we're eating, we're changing what we're thinking, we're changing what we're believing, we're changing where we're living if we have to, if there's mold. We're taking the right supplements, we're doing our meditations, we're exercising, we're giving God all the credit. We're doing all the things that are necessary to transform our personality into really just a channel for your higher power to work through. Stop buying into the idea that it's all you and this ego and I got to do this because I need to get this, I got to have these things because blah, 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 blah. No, it's just, what was my purpose on this earth? And why did God put me through this illness? And what is he trying to inspire me to do with the rest of my life? What am I going to go ahead and do with the rest of my life to make myself happy and make myself proud of myself at the end? At the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, you're looking back on it, you want to say, hey, man, I did my best, and wow, I'm proud of myself for the life I lived. How are you going to be able to get to that place at the end of your life? Ask yourself that, and then start to make the decisions on a daily basis how you're going to transform your personality, your behaviors to be able to get there. This was a long road for me. It took me over 22 years of going through these thoughts over and over again and trying to eventually, work through it and find the lightness within the darkness and find my purpose and all these things. It took a long, long, long time, but it's possible and it's necessary if you want to overcome these chronic illnesses. You got to be able to shift your perspective, your reality, and even your personality. Thanks for watching, everybody.